I'm not the biggest football fan, but I am a huge fan of the halftime shows and those insanely clever commercials, because I noticed about half of the Super Bowl ads had something related to space. Let me give you guys a little bit of history about what the Super Bowl actually is and why it's such a big deal in the US. Well, first of all, American football was first created from rugby. So back in the 1800s, there actually was a rugby player from Yale University that decided to change the rules of rugby, hence creating modern day American football. Now, the reason I'm specifying saying American football is because I do have an international audience, and I know a lot of you guys watch football, which is like soccer, for instance, in multiple other countries around the world. The NFL, which is the National Football League, was created and founded in 1920. In 1967 was the very first Super Bowl. Now, the Super Bowl was massive. There already was a huge fan base. I mean, this was 50 years of the NFL already existing, people already going to games. And the Super Bowl was like the ultimate football game, because you had like the two teams that beat all the other teams in the country, and now they're gonna compete. So you can only imagine how many people watched this televised event. It was in the millions. In 1967, the very first Super Bowl was around 103 million people that watched it. That many people watching, you can imagine how all the different companies and brands in the US wanted to air their ad, because that's like prime advertising real estate. And anyone who works in advertising knows that that's gonna come at a high cost. In 1967, during the very first Super Bowl, it cost around $37,000 to air a 30-second commercial. Now, calculating in inflation, that would be just around $200,000 of the modern day US dollar. By 1995, a 30-second commercial already cracked $1 million. It then increased to $3 million by 2011, and now the LIV Super Bowl, which was this one that just passed, 2020, the 54th Super Bowl, cost around $5.6 million to air a 30-second commercial. So with companies spending millions of dollars on a 30-second commercial, you bet it better be clever, on point, and know their targeted audience. And this is actually why me and a bunch of my friends from Brooklyn have a joke saying that the only reason we watch the Super Bowl is for the commercials. This being said, I grew up watching the Super Bowl, not every single year, but I've seen a good handful of Super Bowls. And this is the first year that I've seen so many space-related commercials. I was completely blown away, because first of all, I knew I was gonna see at least one, which was that Olay commercial that has Nicole Scott. It has all these like celebrities in it, all women, and the whole message is make space for women. But I was blown away that every single commercial that I was seeing, one after another, had something that was space related. Either it had astronauts in it, or it had Bill Nye the Science Guy, or it had Mars, or it had a rocket ship. I was like, okay, what does this have to say about what's happening? Because think about it. The Super Bowl is one of the most watched televised events in the United States for the year. Companies are paying millions of dollars just to air their commercial to advertise their product. Not all these products are space related. So why is it that they're choosing to have space immersed in their commercials? Well, there's a few things that stood out to me. One, space clearly is very trendy right now. Two, is their targeted audience space-related people, or people that love space. Now, I don't know about you guys, but most of the time I don't think Super Bowl, football, and space nerds. But then again, I'm breaking stereotypes by being a fashion model in astrophysics. But what does this mean? Are there actually worlds that are colliding right now? Or is it that we are in the new space era? Now, I know you guys are space fans, so 1000% you feel like, yes, we're in the space era. There's so much going on. Look at what like SpaceX is doing, what NASA is doing, blah, 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 blah. But people are starting to notice, more people, not just the people in our world, but outside of that, there are millions of people that are following space now. They're watching launches, they're caring about human exploration into the cosmos, and that just got me so excited because there was this one commercial that I was watching which was for SodaStream, and immediately when it started they were showing landing on Mars and they were collecting a sample of Mars water. And there was a guy who loaded up the SodaStream. If you guys haven't used SodaStream before, it makes carbonated water. You can make carbonated juices, like sodas, whatever. And he literally drinks it and someone's like, wait, you just drank the Mars water. And he's like, what? I thought it said Mark's water. And they're like, ugh. And so it's like, you see that and it's just, I love it because what it did for me was it put me into an imagination of, wow, that actually could be possible one day, and it's going to be possible. It became a reality for me. And how many other people watching the Super Bowl might have thought the same thing and said, yeah, like we're gonna have people on the Martian surface that are going to be collecting samples like this, and they're gonna be living on Mars. And then I saw a commercial for Turkish Airlines, and it started out with the launch of Apollo. And I was like, wait a second, like what's going on? This is crazy. And it's all because people really have their eyes and their minds set to the moon and Mars. I mean, it's literally in the news all the time now. And I think that this is so exciting because only about 10 years ago, there were people outside of the space community saying it's never gonna happen. We're never gonna go back to space. Like, there's no such thing as aliens, but it's just like, now it's becoming so much more of a common language. I mean, these companies spend millions, and that's just on the slot to actually put it on the televised, event. You know, that's 5.6 million just for 30 seconds. Most of these commercials were over 30 seconds. They were like 60 seconds. Some of them were 1 minute long. And to do that, in addition to then production and filming and hiring the actors or the astronauts or whoever it was that they had in their commercials. So that just got me excited because space truly is becoming a common language. And when I had first started this YouTube channel, I was all about trying to make space more of a common language, making it as comfortable as drinking a cup of coffee and talking about space, talking about new discoveries. And it's really becoming a thing. And it just makes me so stoked because to me, the more people we can get focused with their eyes on space and space exploration and science, the more people that are actually going to believe in the future of humanity, and they're going to believe in the next levels of technology. It's always stuff that comes out of that that's beneficial to us here on Earth. For medical technology, advancement of our vehicles, of how we transport, how we communicate, how we talk with each other. It's just all next levels to help cure Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, all of that. And it comes through technology and being open to it and understanding it more, and then inspiring younger generations to want to pursue science. Imagine how many kids watch the Super Bowl with their families and they're seeing astronauts all the time. And I think that that's so exciting. They're seeing Bill Nye the Science Guy. He was on the SodaStream commercial. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And then seeing Nicole Scott, I was like, what? I just got so excited. I mean, seeing her and then all those incredible female actresses on this commercial for Olay, it just was honestly, it was incredible. I'm not sponsored by any of these guys for this video. I just wanted to share this with you all because I've never been so moved by the Super Bowl before. I actually wasn't even gonna watch the Super Bowl. I was gonna go home and take a nap. I didn't even know I didn't even know it was the Super Bowl until my girlfriend's like, we need to watch a Super Bowl, and I'm like, okay. And it just completely blew me away. Some crazy reviews online about what people's opinions are on these commercials, and honestly they feel like the SodaStream commercial was just dumbfounding astronauts by saying that there was one astronaut was like, oh wait, that was supposed to be Mars water, I thought it was Mark's water. Now in reality that's not actually going to happen. We're not going to end up having astronauts completely mix up the water while they're in space. That stuff is going to be trapped in a chamber that's gonna be locked up in preservatives in a petri dish. It's not gonna be sitting out just for them to mix up and put into SodaStream. I think it was a pretty cute commercial, but definitely, what kind of impression did that actually give to the audience? But if anything, I'm thinking positively about this and thinking that it's good regardless because it's, not just bringing in space, but it's bringing in Mars. It's talking about how this is something that everyone's been talking about. Mars has been such a trending subject generally, again, amongst like all people in all industries.
Enough space in space for women?
I love this commercial.
Are people really still asking that question?
So first of all, just starting out with that, I mean, the fact that that's still a question really is ridiculous. I mean, humanity has been a space exploring civilization since 1961 when Yuri Gagarin went into space, and then when Apollo 11 landed on the moon in 1969. I mean, it's been decades. It's kind of ridiculous that we're still asking this question: is you know, is space making room for women?
Make Space for Women is ready for liftoff.
Mission control.
Taraji P. Henson here.
I love that they have Taraji in this. Oh my God. First of all, I just finished watching the movie What Men Think. I love that she's in this because she's the one at the command center. So she's the Capcom.
Of a problem. There is so much space up here. Well, I could have told you that. When we make space for...
I love how Nicole Scott's just like she is the epitome of, I mean, obviously she's a real life astronaut, but in this series, like, she's just cool, calm, collective. I could have told you that. This confidence and this calmness that truly displays the proper like characteristics of an astronaut, and I think that that isn't portrayed enough in movies, especially commercials. I mean, like the SodaStream commercial, again, I love that they even related to space, but to have one of the astronauts be like, oh, I thought this said Mark's water, it kind of brings this impression that like that mistake's gonna happen, which it's not, because astronauts are trained for years not to make sure those things happen. And so, you know, in this commercial, obviously there's two other actresses, Lily and Billy, in this, and they're like super, super fun, but you know, I think that they're being dramatic, they're being fun, but they're displaying what it would be like for tourists to be going into space. You know, like the rest of us, when we actually start going into space, it's gonna be like exhilarating, it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be like probably getting on a roller coaster times a million. But I love that Nicole Scott really embraces and shows people how astronauts truly behave, because that's really not portrayed enough in movies. Most of the time they have astronauts be either like super like serious and depressed, kind of like how unfortunately in First Man Neil Armstrong was portrayed, or like how in Gravity, I mean, that the Gravity was just like she was freaking out in like every scene, and most of the time that's not going to actually happen. Like, yes, there's moments that are scary when you're in space, but they know how to maintain a good like heart rate and actually take care of issues and fix the problem without having a panic attack. And so I think that that's something that, you know, I really love that they portray this in the commercial. And Girls Who Code, I love this. I love that they literally say one tweet is going to be $1 donated to Girls Who Code. So this is not just a commercial where it's like, you know, selfish trying to make products sold for Olay, but they're like, hey, actually, every time you guys are going to retweet this, not only is it uprising the message of making space for women, but now we're going to be donating to Girls Who Code. So we're actually doing something about it. You know, we're not just saying make space for women. We're like, how about we actually do something by funding the youth and the young women to actually want to pursue a career in science. I love this commercial. It's probably one of my favorites. It's just a little bit on the Super Bowl itself, and then those awesome space commercials. I just had to share them with you guys. I thought it was so astonishing that so many of the commercials that I ended up seeing had something that was space related. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Did you actually see the Super Bowl? Are you football fans, whether that's American football or standard football, aka soccer? And yeah, leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys think of these commercials. I truly want to know what your opinions are. That was like the Turkish Airlines commercial with Apollo 11, the SodaStream commercial that had Bill Nye, and then the astronauts that went to Mars, and of course that Olay commercial about make space for women and Girls Who Code. So let me know, leave a comment below, and if you guys wanted to see more videos, just comment any of the topics you guys really want to hear about. I'm going to be working on some stuff like quantum tunneling and teleportation, and I will chat with you guys next time. All right, bye space peeps.